Welcome back, Jason Wilson, head football coach at Greene Central High School. Coach Wilson, this is your 8th year, I think this is going to be.
I probably so, probably
But
so.
more
Seventh,
or less,
seventh,
it's more
seventh or eighth, somewhere in
7th
there.
or 8th. It's one of those two.
Yeah,
Either way, it's been going by really fast.
yeah,
So
yes, it has.
it's you're now the one of the more longer tenured guys in the area there since there's been so many changes lately.
Yeah,
Last year, another good season, went 7-5 overall, made it to the second round of the playoffs. Lost to Northeastern, the team that eventually went to the 2A state championship,
yeah.
but still a successful season. How's the offseason been? What's been the main kind of storyline or approach for this offseason?
Um, I think just kind of solidifying who we are. We had several ups and downs last year. During the season, win three, lose three, or whatever it was, and then come back
Mm-hmm.
and kind of go on a roll. So we've been really, as a coaching staff, we spent a lot of time. Okay, what was the difference in those tides and ebbs and flows, and then from
Mm-hmm.
a player standpoint, okay, what do we need to do to put our best players in the best position? And so we spent all spring and all winter, looking at that and doing that.
I don't know if there was another team in North Carolina that played in as many close games as y'all did last year. So I think you won 4 close games and lost 3.
Yeah,
Uh, I'm sure that's been you probably alluded to this just then, just like figuring out like what was the difference in those ones where you prevailed and then the
yeah,
ones where you just like slipped up at the way in there.
yep. And I mean, and that was some of our. I mean, we lose to Aiden Griffin, which had a great season.
Mm-hmm. By
We're,
two,
yeah,
by
by
two
two.
points.
And we looked at the game film, and there were parts in the game where if we would have executed or we don't fumble here, we have an opportunity to win that ball game. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so, North Pitt, we're up by a touchdown or so, and we wound up giving up a game-winning drive defensively. So we kind of look at things and like, okay, what could we have done in this situation? If we get in this situation again, what can we do better? So that was the big thing. But the guys that come back are battle tested. We have
Mm-hmm.
about 12 to 14 seniors, 9 of which, 10 of which actually played major minutes, last year. So they know how to win, close ball games. So that's gonna be big for us going forward.
Awesome. Well, let's get into those guys. Who are some of the players on? We'll start on offense. Who are some of the players on offense that people in North Carolina need to know about?
Dewan Cobb is going to be the head of our running back stable. He has several injuries, but he still wound up with about 700 yards last year. So we're hoping he can stay injury free and and be that 1,000+ back. Um, Sam Avent and Cameron Vanderford offensively are going to be our major threats as far as wide receiver position goes. And then of course Deuce, my tight end. Like I tell my quarterback Josh, I say, hey, listen, there's not a lot of schools that have a 6'4", 235-pound tight end, out here readily available. So we need to make sure we utilize him, in the run and in the pass game. So
And Deuce's good genes, right?
yeah, I mean, I think his dad was pretty good when he played back in the day. So I think that's helped out.
He's now a little bit bigger than his dad. Sounds like.
Hey, don't remind me. We don't talk about that at the house.
On offense, is there you're one of the coaches who really likes to adapt what he does every year just based on the personnel. What's going to be kind of a theme of this year's offense?
Oh man, we're gonna throw that ball 100 times a game, and we're never gonna run the ball, and that's what we're gonna do. So any of my coaches out there that are watching this, that's a scouting report. Greene Central gonna throw the ball 70 times a game, and we're not gonna run. No, but no, I mean, we for the first time in my head coaching career, I actually have the same starting quarterback, knock on wood, that I had from the year before. Every other year, I've had to have a new guy step into the role. So that's going to be huge for us. So that does allow for more balance. We're always looking to be 50-50, 60-40 in
Mm-hmm.
everything that we do. I never want to be the team that comes out and throws the ball, 90 times and runs the ball 10, or vice versa. I think if you have athletes, and I think if you have a good, offensive coordinator, which Coach Whitehurst is, then we can find a way to, manipulate this thing that you don't know what we're gonna do, but whatever we're gonna do, we're gonna do it well. So that's how we're approaching that. But we look to be 50-50 from different sets and different formations.
Good. And tell me about your big boys up front.
Oh man, Craig Whitley, he's a senior this year. He's going to anchor that O line. Um, we had a kid, we call him Big E. He came from North Dakota, and we just so happened his wonderful, beautiful grandmother lived in Greene County. And he came, stays with her. But Big E is going to be a major asset to the O line. He played O line last year. Just kind of, he was getting acclimated to
Mm-hmm.
football down here and a little bit different than where he came from. But he's had an amazing offseason. He's had a great spring, and he's right there with Craig as far as strength and as far as understanding the offense. So those two guys are definitely going to, be the linchpins of our O line.
Okay, let's flip it over to defense. Who are some of the main guys on that side of the ball?
Chris Dildy is going to be a 3-year starter at that inside linebacker position, tackle machine. We have Cameron Vanderford, who's going to be, getting a lot of time in the secondary. Excuse me. We have Vaughn Brewington. I think Vaughn led the team in interceptions last year. If not, he was, up maybe him and Vandy were, tied or real close. So our secondary should be pretty strong. Just got to iron out all the kinks. And then now we're going to be a little bit young on the front line. We graduated Smiley, Tyler Williams and
Mm-hmm.
Donovan Hall. They were our two leading tacklers from last year's team. They both graduated. So Big Trey is going to be a major part of that D line. The younger guys coming up. He had a lot of snaps last year as an interior 3 technique. Deuce is going to probably man one edge. We're looking at the other defensive end, trying to see who's going to win that battle during spring ball. During the summer.
Mm-hmm.
So we have some pieces. I think we may be a little bit young early on in the season, but Coach Colin Lee is a great defensive coordinator. He's going to put those guys in the best position to be successful.
Uh, what's going to be the main theme of this year's defense? Is there any like major takeaway from last year that's been like the central focus of the offseason?
We want to turn that ball over a little bit. Last year we had turnovers, and again, when you look back at the film, the games we were +2 in turnover to turnover margins.
Mm-hmm.
We won. When you look back in the games that we were even or we were even, minus, those were the games that we lost in the last minute or in the last part of the fourth quarter, something like that. And so we want to turn the ball over, and we want to get teams off the. We want to make teams punt more. Our percentage last year of making teams punt on drives was not the best that it has been, and it showed up in some of those games. And so those I think would be two of the major themes that we're looking for this year is to create turnovers and to
Mm-hmm.
get them off the field first, second, third down, make them punt, give our offense more opportunities to be successful.
Yeah, even in the cases when you're able to kind of maybe turn them over on downs later in the drive, that's still extra snaps, to
Yeah,
your guys
yeah.
accumulating. So yeah, that's a good point there. Specialist wise, kicker, punter, long snapper, holder, returner. What are we looking at for all these kind of spots?
Well, Sam Avent, he won two games, with the last second field goals. So he's returning. It's not even his primary position, but it's great. It's great to have a weapon like that where 25 and in, you feel like, hey, we can kick this football.
Mm-hmm.
So having him, we have one of our soccer guys, Carrillo, who is going to come over and be our kicker, like kickoff guy. So maybe he's gotten a lot stronger in the off season. He's able to more directionally kick, kind of place you in certain spots. Kick away from guys. Return guys, we have a freshman, not a freshman. We have a junior who was on JV last year. He actually returned one in the game against Southwest. Matthew Sanders, we call him JoJo.
Okay.
So he's definitely going to be a threat. Vandy's still a threat. Cameron Vanderford is still going to be a threat. He had one or two he took back last year. So we have some guys that, in open space, you give them a ball, they can get some points on the board that we don't have to have a 15, 20 play drive to get. So you love those big explosive plays that can just, turn the momentum of a game or really tell a team, be like, man, we're done. They just took a
Yeah.
kickoff. We scored and they just ran it right back on our face, that kind of thing. So
Yeah. There's nothing more demoralizing than that.
oh, for sure. Or,
Getting a return right away.
yeah, or you come out in the second half and they're like, yeah, he done told them all we need is a stop and a score, and they kick the ball to us, and 60 yards later the band is playing. So
Right.
that kind of thing.
Yeah. I know you've already mentioned a lot of your coaches, but let's kind of go through the whole roster there of coaches. Just give all their names and kind of tell us what they do.
Yeah, DeMarcus Whitehurst, this will be going into his third year as the full-term offensive coordinator. Great offensive mind. He's always drawing up plays in the dirt, and I'm like, bro, what are we doing? But the kids love it. So they, plays very, very successful. Colin Lee is my defensive coordinator, and he's also the JV head coach. Has done a great job of instilling, the program and the system and the culture that was started, a couple of years ago. And so he'll be my DC JV coach. Ryan Walston will be the JV offensive coordinator and offensive line coach. Excuse me. Aaron Harper is going to be our running back coach, and he's also going to double up as our linebacker coach. Great young coach with a lot of enthusiasm. I know I'm getting old because we just brought a coach on staff that played for me here, Trey Dodd. So he's going to be our DB's coach. Oh, Aaron Harper is also going to be our defensive coordinator for JV. But Trey Dodd is as a DB coach. Like I say, young, enthusiastic, kind of reminds me of myself when I first got, was 22, 23 or whatever, coaching again. So he brings that energy. He brings all that enthusiasm. So we really like that. And we still have one or two more spots that we're kind of like looking at, kind of done some interviews and, hopefully bring a couple more people on staff. But right now that's our core nucleus. Plus, like I say, I have a couple of other guys who are probably going to jump on board as well.
Okay. Lastly, so with the realignment this year, you're one of the conferences that is like the most different from last year. So
Yeah.
Eastern Plains 2A was probably one of the more competitive leagues
Yes.
in terms of parity. Like there was one year when like everybody beat somebody.
That was last year. That was last year. And I think we had
I feel like it happened another year before that, but yeah, it was last year, right?
Yeah, we had 5 teams to make the playoffs.
Yeah, crazy.
I think everybody made the second round except for the 2 that had to play each other, and they knocked each other out. You know what I mean? So
it was wild. It was wild. Yeah. The parity was unreal. But this year, so we're keeping some of those teams. So we're keeping Angrifton, we're keeping y'all and Farmville, and we're adding in a couple of teams that are going to make it even better, I think. So Kinston, which is a rival of yours, they're going to be outstanding this year. They're loaded. Beddingfield, they have athletes year in and year out. It's just a matter of them putting it together. And then Tarboro, which is the only 2A team in this conference. Despite that, they are probably going to be the favorite in this conference as a defending state champion. So just your general reaction when that conference was finalized, you're adding in these 3 schools that have all these athletes.
Yeah, I mean, we added in a ton of tradition. I mean, we bump heads with Kinston every single year. They were a non-conference opponent that was going to be happy. We're going to have that every year. Diesel is a great coach, and he has a really good program over there, and they got athletes and at the wazoo. And then like you say, Beddingfield. They hired a great coach, so they're going to come in and you're going to see the difference in them in regards to the structure and all the things that he's going to bring in from Tarboro, where he's been at for umpteen years, and then you bring in Tarboro, which speaks for itself in North Carolina. There are certain schools that you say their name and you automatically think football, and Tarboro is one of those schools. But what an amazing opportunity. Like I tell my guys, I said, for my guys that want to go play college football, I said, you're gonna have 6 weeks of great tape to use. You come out here and you ball out against Tarboro, you ball out against Kinston, you ball out against Farmville. You don't have to put a highlight tape together. You can just say, hey, coach, go look what I did against Kinston, or go look what I did against Tarboro. So each night you're going to have an opportunity to be your best and to play your best against someone who was doing the same thing.
Yeah. You're going to have to acquaint yourself with that Tarboro T, because I understand that Beddingfield is also going to be running that as well.
So yeah, I knew that. When he got the job, I said, okay, so he's gonna have the Beddingfield B or whatever it is they're gonna call it over there. But, yeah, I don't know what they're gonna call it, but
they might steal that name for you. That's a good name.
I know what it's gonna look like. It's gonna be
it's gonna be fun to prepare for.
Oh, for sure.
What did you land on in non-conference? Then we'll get out of here.
We start out with North Lenore, then we roll to Goldsboro. That close proximity. Coach McCurry and I, we're real good friends, so it just made sense to play. We were able to keep North Pitt. Coach Wilson, I got the battle of the first cousins over there, so we were able to keep them. And then we picked up Martin, and then we picked up Wilson Prep. So I told the guys, all 10 Friday nights, you got to bring your A game. You have to bring your A game.
You're gonna have a good RPI this year.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
If, we win, however many we win, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever it is, our RPI is going to be loaded because the teams that we're playing are going to go out and beat other teams. Mm-hmm. So, ain't no Sister Mary Catherine of the St. Florence on the schedule this year. You're going to have to bring your A game every single night or every single Friday night if you want to come out there with a win.
Awesome. Well, Coach, I appreciate your time as always. You're one of our favorites here. Always willing to do the interview and really go into his team. I appreciate it. I'm excited to see what your team looks like this year, and excited to see what this conference looks like. It's going to be very interesting to see how the new teams play into it. And I really can't tell you what the order is going to be at this point. It's just going to be a matter of waiting and seeing. So it'll be interesting. Anyways, I appreciate it. Enjoy these last couple of months of the off season, and best of luck this season.
All right, man. I appreciate you, boss man.